Well, let's return now to Andrew, who has lost his title of Prince and will leave the Royal Lodge. Buckingham Palace has announced the King's younger brother will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, following a string of controversies and his ties to, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell and Harvey Weinstein. Joining me now is Reform UK Councillor Darren Grimes. Darren, thanks for joining me. Wow, look, this is unprecedented, probably not surprising. But what's been the reaction over there to this?
Look, I think actually there's been a sort of collective of outreach saying, look, this is 2 decades too late. You know, Her Majesty the Queen was never going to do this. This was her favourite son. But ordinary Brits, I think, are actually cheering this on. It's the coronation of common sense, I would actually proffer. King Charles has finally taken out the palace pest and someone who actually, I think, has disgraced the institution, a really important institution. Andrew was effectively the monarchy's embarrassing uncle. You know, he was almost always one scandal away from ruining Sunday lunch. And now the palace has actually finally had the, I think, guts, maybe actually at the direction and the behest of the future king. That is, of course, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, William. And this isn't a PR exercise. I think it's a statement that the crown will stand for duty, which is what Prince Andrew once displayed when he fought gallantly in the Falklands, but not actually the disgrace that he's brought subsequently, Danica.
No, look, I completely agree. And I just wonder now, Darren, what sort of a precedent this will set. I mean, we've got the non-royals, we've got Meghan and Harry. I just wonder if they're next. I mean, could they even be stripped of their titles?
It's a good question. Look, I think actually this will be a short-term sting, but a long-term detox. I was told, and you were told, I've no doubt, on this very show, that you couldn't remove a title of prince, that it was impossible to do. Well, actually, we've just had the royal equivalent of changing the locks after your dodgy lodger moves out of your lodgings. You know, Andrew was reckless. There was the sweating denials, the Epstein links, the pitch at the palace scandal, where he gave access like a Labour Australian politician to Chinese business leaders, later actually flagged as potential spies. It's not actually royal service. It's selling the crown like he's popping it on eBay. And that's exactly what Harry and Meghan did to the institution too. You know, whacking on the Sussex logo on top of some jam that she's seeking to sell for $60. It's absolutely absurd. And, you know, Danica, what I would say is, whilst this is probably troubling news for the Royal Soap Opera and Montecito, who have done actually a lot of damage to the monarchy as well as Andrew, I would say this morning there is one happy customer. And that's Keir Starmer's Labour government, because polling just found that they are more unpopular than Prince Andrew. So any bad press for Prince Andrew will be music to their ears, Danica.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, when you reach that point, Darren, good grief, you must think to yourself, they've lost the plot now. Wow. Well, look, let's talk some politics, because Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, he's vowed to take back control of the borders by unveiling legislation to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. But as he laid out the bill in Parliament, he was repeatedly heckled and called Putin's pet. Have a look.
And do you wonder? It's marvellous to see the intellectual levels of debate in this place, it really is. Do you wonder that out in the country there is growing frustration?
Order.
Darren, you could barely get a word in. What is going on over there?
Oh, yeah, that's a complete not a disgrace. You know, it's a perfect snapshot of the rot within Westminster. The moment that someone actually defends Britain and our borders, the establishment actually turn into a pack of playground bullies, showing themselves to be completely removed from the concerns of the British public. They were yelling at Farage because they've run out of arguments. The ECHR has become a lawyer's paradise. It's a system that blocks deportations and keeps dangerous men on our streets. It protects the rights of migrants to access British chicken nuggets, I'm not joking, over actually our right to safety and security. Britons are actually dying whilst they laugh. Wayne Broadhurst, a council worker who was walking his dog, was stabbed to death by an Afghan who arrived here illegally and was granted leave to remain. We just had a guy in Derby Bank who was stabbed whilst doing his banking by a boat migrant who'd already threatened to kill hundreds of people. This isn't rhetoric, this isn't me making things up. These are ordinary people paying the price for the political and moral cowardice displayed within Parliament. So how dare they sit there and laugh? They are laughing at the British public. They show their contempt for us, Danica, and it will be reflected at the results of the next general election.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. They are showing contempt. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. It's sad that ordinary, everyday Britons are being put second in the UK. Darren Grimes, lovely to see you as always. Thanks very much for joining me on the show.